A woman alone at an ATM. An unsuspecting thief lurking in the shadows. But what he didn't know, her loyal German shepherd was trained for moments exactly like this. What happened next left everyone speechless. Before we dive into this intense story, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss an inspiring tale like this one. Now, let's begin. The cold night air wrapped around Emma Carter as she stood at the ATM, her fingers hovering over the keypad while she withdrew cash. The city streets were nearly empty, except for the occasional car passing by in the distance. A street lamp flickered above her, casting long shadows on the sidewalk beside her. Rex, her K9 German shepherd, sat attentively, ears perked, eyes scanning the surroundings. Though retired from the force, Rex's instincts were as sharp as ever. He had been Emma's protector for years, and tonight would be no different. Emma glanced around, sensing an unease creeping over her. Maybe it was nothing, just the usual paranoia of being alone at night. She exhaled, shaking off the feeling, and reached for the cash as the machine beeped. That's when she heard it. Footsteps, fast approaching from behind. Before she could turn, a rough voice barked, "Don't move." A man in a dark hoodie lunged forward, his face partially hidden by the shadows. His right hand clutched a knife, gleaming under the dim light. Emma's heart pounded as she instinctively took a step back, her grip tightening on the money. "Just hand it over, lady, and no one gets hurt," the man hissed, his eyes darting toward her purse. But he had completely ignored Rex. Big mistake. Rex let out a low, menacing growl, the kind that sent shivers down spines. His muscles tensed, hackles raised, and the air shifted. Emma felt it. The thief's smirk faltered. "What the hell?" he muttered, stepping back slightly. Emma, adrenaline surging, stood her ground. "You should leave," she warned, her voice firm. The man hesitated, then lunged forward, trying to snatch the money from her hand. Rex moved like lightning. A sharp bark echoed through the street, followed by the sound of teeth snapping. The man barely had time to react before Rex lunged at his wrist, clamping down with a force that sent the knife clattering to the pavement. "Ah, get off me," the thief screamed, stumbling backward. But Rex didn't let go. His training had kicked in. He wasn't just a pet, he was a protector. Emma's breathing was ragged, her pulse hammering in her ears. She had seen Rex in action before, but never like this. This wasn't just instinct. This was loyalty. The man thrashed, trying to shake Rex off, but the dog's jaws were locked. Emma reached for her phone with shaking hands, dialing 911. The thief was trapped. Then, suddenly, a second shadow appeared from the alleyway. Emma's eyes widened in horror. He wasn't alone. The night, once silent, had erupted into chaos. The thief writhed in agony as Rex's powerful jaws remained clamped around his wrist. His yells echoed against the empty buildings, but there was no one around to help him. Not his kind, anyway. Emma's heart pounded as she gripped her phone. Her fingers fumbled over the screen as she tried to dial 911. Before she could press the call button, movement from the alley beside the ATM caught her eye. Another man, taller, broader, and holding a steel pipe. Her stomach twisted into a tight knot. This wasn't just some desperate thief. This was a planned attack. "Let him go, lady, or you'll regret it," the second man growled, stepping closer, his voice thick with anger. His knuckles were white from the grip on the pipe. Rex's growl deepened, vibrating through the air. He hadn't loosened his grip on the first thief, but Emma could see his focus shifting. He sensed a new threat. Emma took a shaky breath, forcing herself to think. If she ran, they could chase her down. If she let go of the money, they might take it and still hurt her. No, she wouldn't let fear dictate her actions. "I said let him go," the second man snapped, raising the pipe. His stance shifted as though he was about to swing. Emma's blood ran cold. Rex released the first thief, not out of fear, but out of strategy. The moment the first man stumbled back, clutching his bleeding wrist, Rex whirled toward the bigger threat, a blur of muscle and fury. The second man barely had time to react before Rex leapt, crashing into his chest with enough force to knock him off his feet. The steel pipe flew from his hand, clattering against the pavement. The impact sent the man sprawling onto his back, and before he could recover, Rex was on him. His paw pinned the attacker's shoulders, his teeth just inches from his throat. One move, one wrong twitch, and it would be over. The second man froze. "Call off your dog," he stammered, eyes wide with pure terror. Emma clenched her fists. "You were about to hit me with a pipe," she said, her voice colder than she expected. "You don't get to make demands." The first thief, still cradling his injured wrist, tried to scramble to his feet. "Screw this, man. Let's go," he gasped. The second man thrashed under Rex's weight, but the dog didn't budge. His snarl was unrelenting, a warning. One last chance. Emma took a deep breath. She had a choice. She could call the police and have them both arrested, or she could make them regret ever crossing paths with her. She looked down at the second man, who was now panting with panic. "If I let you up, you're gone. Understand?" The man nodded frantically. Emma whistled once, sharp and commanding. Rex obeyed instantly. He stepped off the man, muscles still taut, teeth still bared. His eyes never left the two men as they stumbled backward, fear evident in their expressions. They didn't dare fight back. The second man grabbed the first by the arm. "Let's go," he muttered, his bravado shattered. And then they ran. Emma exhaled a shaky breath, watching them disappear down the darkened street. She dropped to her knees beside Rex, running her hands through his thick fur. "Good boy," she whispered. "You saved me." Rex's ears flicked back, and for the first time that night, his tail wagged. Emma pulled out her phone again, hesitating before dialing. The police would never believe her if she said she was completely unharmed, all because of him. She looked down at Rex, her protector, her hero. No matter what happened in the future, she would never feel afraid again. With Rex by her side, she was unstoppable. The city lights flickered in the distance as Emma sat on the curb, her pulse still racing. The adrenaline hadn't fully worn off yet, but she wasn't shaking anymore. Rex sat beside her, ears perked, eyes scanning the street for any lingering threats. He was still in full protection mode. Emma exhaled, glancing down at him. "You're incredible," she murmured, scratching behind his ears. His muscles, still tense, slowly began to relax under her touch. But the night wasn't over yet. A police siren blared in the distance. Emma stiffened. She hadn't called 911, but someone else must have. Maybe a security camera caught the attack, or maybe someone heard the commotion. Either way, she wasn't about to run. She had nothing to hide. Rex, however, sensed something. His ears twitched, and he turned his head. Before Emma even knew what was coming, a black sedan was creeping down the street. Slow, deliberate, too careful. Her breath caught. They came back. The thieves were gone, but someone else had shown up. Emma felt Rex's body tense again, his posture shifting into a protective stance. She followed his gaze, heart pounding. The car rolled to a stop a few feet away. The tinted window lowered. A man sat in the driver's seat, his face partially shadowed. Older, more composed, but with the same dangerous energy. Not a street thug. Something worse. "I heard there was a little incident here," the man said, his voice smooth but with an underlying edge. His sharp eyes flickered to Rex. "Nice dog." Emma didn't respond. Instinct told her to be careful. The man chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "You made quite an impression on my guys," he continued. "They came running back like scared little kids. Said you had a damn attack dog." Emma straightened, her fists clenching. "They tried to rob me," she said. The man shrugged, as if it didn't matter. "They're not the brightest, I'll admit, but they work for me." Rex let out a low growl. The man barely flinched, but Emma saw the way his fingers tapped against the steering wheel. Nervous. "Look," the man said, his tone shifting. "I don't want any trouble, but you and your dog, you just made some enemies." Emma felt her blood turn ice cold. This wasn't just a random robbery. This was something bigger. The man leaned slightly out the window, lowering his voice. "Word of advice, stay out of our way and keep your mutt on a leash." Rex barked once, sharp and commanding. The man jolted slightly, then smirked. "Suit yourself." The window rolled up, and the sedan pulled away, disappearing into the night. Emma sat frozen for a moment, her mind racing. Rex nudged her hand, sensing her unease. Her protector, her shield. She inhaled deeply, forcing herself to think clearly. This wasn't over. If that man was right, she hadn't just defended herself tonight. She had stepped into something dangerous. And now she had a choice to make, run or fight back. Emma looked at Rex. His golden brown eyes locked onto hers. There was never really a choice. She wasn't backing down. The night felt heavier now, thick with an unease that clung to Emma's skin. The black sedan had disappeared into the darkness, but the man's warning echoed in her mind. You and your dog just made some enemies. Emma clenched her fists. She had lived in the city long enough to know what that meant. Trouble wasn't over. Beside her, Rex remained still but alert. His ears flicked at the distant sound of sirens, his sharp eyes scanning every shadow. He knew. He felt it too. Emma inhaled deeply, steadying herself. She couldn't go home yet. If these men had been watching her, they might already know where she lived. She needed a plan, and she needed help. One person came to mind. With a few quick taps on her phone, she made the call. It rang twice before a groggy but familiar voice answered. Emma, it's almost midnight. What's going on? Liam, she said, her voice tight. I need you to meet me now. His tone sharpened instantly. What happened? Emma hesitated, looking around. The street was quiet again, but the unease hadn't left her. I was attacked at an ATM. Rex stopped him. But she swallowed hard. It wasn't random. Someone came after me, said I made enemies. Silence. Then, where are you? She gave him the address. I'm on my way, Liam said. Emma hung up, exhaling shakily. Liam was the only person she trusted with this. He had trained Rex back in their police days, and he knew how to handle threats like these. She glanced down at her dog, running a hand over his strong back. You're a hero, Rex, she murmured. He leaned into her touch, his tail thumping once against the pavement. A low rumble of an approaching engine made Emma tense. Not another car. This time it was Liam's truck. The black Ford pulled up beside her, and the driver's side door opened. Liam stepped out, his presence as solid and reassuring as ever. Even in the dim streetlight, she could see the concern in his deep brown eyes. His short, tousled hair was a little messier than usual, and he was still in his gray hoodie and sweatpants, probably having jumped out of bed the second she called. He took one look at Rex, standing protectively by her side, and sighed. Damn, Emma, what did you get yourself into? Emma shook her head. I didn't pick this fight. Liam's gaze hardened. Then why does it feel like it's just beginning? Rex growled. Both Emma and Liam snapped their heads in the direction he was staring. A figure stood at the end of the block, just barely visible in the shadows, watching. Emma's stomach twisted. They hadn't left. Liam cursed under his breath, his hand drifting toward the concealed holster at his waist. Get in the truck. Now! Emma hesitated, but Liam cut her off. His voice was low and firm. I don't like this. Get in. Rex didn't need to be told twice. He was already moving toward the passenger side, leading Emma with him. She trusted Liam, but more than that, she trusted Rex's instincts. If he was uneasy, something was seriously wrong. Liam kept his eyes on the shadowed figure, his posture tense as he climbed into the driver's seat. The moment Emma closed the door, he hit the gas. They sped off. Emma turned in her seat to look out the back window. The figure hadn't faded, but another car had pulled up beside him. Emma's throat tightened. They weren't done with her. Liam's hands gripped the wheel. We need to talk, and you need to tell me everything. Emma looked down at Rex. His body pressed against her protectively. She wasn't just in danger. She was being hunted. The city lights blurred past as Liam's truck sped through the empty streets. The air inside the vehicle was thick with tension. Emma sat rigid in the passenger seat, her hands gripping the dashboard. Rex was curled at her feet, alert but calm, his eyes locked on the road, as if he too understood the urgency. Liam didn't speak at first. His jaw clenched as he drove. He was thinking, calculating. Finally, he broke the silence. Start from the beginning. Emma exhaled slowly. I went to the ATM after work. I felt uneasy, but I thought I was just being paranoid. Then this guy comes out of nowhere with a knife, tells me to hand over my money. Liam's grip on the wheel tightened, and Emma glanced at Rex. And Rex did what he was trained to do, she continued. Took the guy down. Liam nodded, his expression unreadable. But that wasn't the end of it. No, Emma swallowed hard. A second guy showed up with a steel pipe. Bigger, more dangerous. Rex got him too. Liam let out a low breath. Damn. Emma hesitated, then added, a car showed up. Liam's eyes flicked to her. A car. She nodded. Black sedan, tinted windows. The driver was older, but he wasn't just some thug. He was in control. He told me I made enemies and that I should stay out of their way. Liam cursed under his breath. He pulled into an abandoned parking lot, cutting the engine. Then he turned to her, his eyes sharper than before. This isn't a random mugging, Emma. She knew that. She had known from the second that man spoke to her. So what is it? She asked, her voice quieter than before. Liam sighed, rubbing his face. It sounds like you ran into a crew. Could be a gang. Could be an organized ring that preys on people at night. Either way, the fact that they came back means they aren't done with you. Emma's stomach tightened. Liam looked down at Rex, who hadn't stopped watching him. He's a problem for them, Emma. Emma blinked. What? Liam gestured to Rex. Think about it. Those guys jump people all the time. They're used to victims being helpless. But tonight they ran into this guy. He motioned toward the German shepherd. He took them down. He humiliated them. And more than that, he made them lose control of the situation. Emma bit her lip. So what? They want revenge on Rex. Liam shook his head. Not just him. You. Emma's breath caught. Liam leaned closer. Those guys won't stop until they feel like they've won. And right now, you embarrass them. You made them look weak. Emma felt a cold chill crawl up her spine. They don't just want money anymore, Liam continued. They want to make sure you don't feel safe again. The realization sank in. This wasn't over. Not even close. Emma looked down at Rex. His body was still, but his golden eyes locked onto hers. He knew. Liam exhaled, then reached for his phone. I need to make some calls. Emma frowned. To who? Liam's eyes darkened. Contact from the force. If this crew is known to us, we need to find out. If they aren't, he let out a slow breath. Then we need to prepare for whatever comes next. Emma stared at him. You think they'll come after me again? Liam met her gaze. I don't think, Emma. I know. The weight of his words pressed down on her chest. Rex let out a soft, deep growl. Emma turned her head. In the reflection of the truck's side mirror, headlights appeared at the entrance of the parking lot. A black sedan. They found her. Emma's pulse skyrocketed. Liam, she gasped. He muttered under his breath, reaching for something under his seat. Emma's eyes widened as she saw the glint of a gun. Stay in the truck. Keep Rex close. Liam opened the door. Emma grabbed his arm. Liam, wait. Too late. The black sedan's door swung open. 3 men stepped out. Emma's stomach dropped. This time, they weren't just carrying knives. The parking lot was swallowed by tension, the air thick with an unspoken threat. The 3 men from the black sedan moved with deliberate confidence, their shadows stretching across the cracked pavement beneath the flickering streetlights. Emma could barely breathe. Liam had stepped out of the truck, his grip firm on his Glock 19, though he kept it pointed downward for now. But Emma knew better. He was ready to fire. Beside her in the truck, Rex's body was coiled tight like a spring. His hackles raised, his golden eyes locked on the threat ahead. Emma felt his energy. He wasn't scared. He was waiting. One of the men took a step forward, his hand resting near his waist. A gun. Liam tensed, his voice sharp. Move your hand again and I drop you. The man froze, his eyes narrowing at Liam, sizing him up. Relax, man. We just want to talk. Liam scoffed. You show up in the middle of the night after trying to jump my friend at an ATM, and now you just want to talk? Emma swallowed hard, her pulse pounding in her ears. The man smirked. It was a misunderstanding. My boys didn't know who they were messing with. But now, he tilted his head. Now we do. Emma shivered. Another man stepped forward, older, the one from before. The leader. His gaze flickered to the truck, locking on Emma. You should have just given up the money, sweetheart. Emma clenched her fists. I wasn't going to let you rob me. The leader sked, shaking his head. See, that's the problem. You made it personal. And that dog of yours. He chuckled, but there was no humor in it. Let's just say we don't take kindly to being made fools of. Liam took a step forward, his voice ice cold. If you came here looking for a fight, I'll gladly put you down. The leader smirked as if Liam had played right into his hands. Oh, we came prepared. In one swift motion, he nodded toward a man to his left, who reached into his jacket. Liam raised his gun, but before either could make a move, Rex launched out of the truck. A snarl ripped through the night, and before the man could even pull his weapon, Rex had tackled him to the ground. Chaos erupted. The man screamed, thrashing under the sheer power of the German Shepherd, but Rex's training kicked in. His jaws clamped onto the man's wrist, preventing him from grabbing the gun. The leader backpedaled, cursing. Get him off. Shoot the damn dog. Bang! Liam fired a warning shot into the air. Try it, and you're next. The third man hesitated, torn between drawing his weapon and running. His eyes darted to the leader, waiting for orders. The leader scowled, his mind racing. He had planned on intimidation, but he hadn't planned on a trained K-9 tearing through his men like they were nothing. Emma jumped out of the truck, adrenaline taking over. Rex, release, she commanded. Rex obeyed instantly, snapping his jaws free and stepping back. His chest heaved as his golden eyes locked on the injured man, still ready if needed. The man groaned in pain, clutching his arm, his face twisted in shock and fear. The leader took a shaky breath, trying to regain control. You're making a mistake, girl. You and that mutt. Liam cocked his gun. You should leave while you still can. Silence. Emma could see the battle behind the leader's eyes. He wanted revenge, but he wasn't stupid. Rex had just proven they weren't winning tonight. Finally, he nodded toward his men. Get in the car. The injured man staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his torn sleeve. The third man, now pale, backed away. They climbed into the sedan, slamming the door shut. The leader lingered, his eyes cold. This isn't over. Then he got in the car, and they peeled out of the parking lot, tires screeching into the night. Emma didn't move, even as the headlights disappeared. Her legs felt like jelly. Only when Rex pressed his nose into her hand did she realize she was shaking. She sank to her knees, wrapping her arms around him. You saved me, she whispered into his fur. He let out a soft huff, as if to say, of course. Liam walked over, his expression dark. He holstered his gun and crouched beside them. They'll be back, he muttered. Emma looked up. I know. Liam exhaled. Then we need a plan. The air was thick with the scent of burnt rubber from the sedan's screeching tires, but Emma barely noticed. Her pulse was still hammering in her ears as she clutched Rex's fur, as if letting go would somehow make everything collapse around her. Liam stood beside her, silent, his jaw clenched. He was already thinking ahead. He always did. Emma pulled back, staring into Rex's golden eyes. He wasn't shaken. He wasn't afraid. If anything, he was waiting for the next command. Emma swallowed hard and stood, forcing herself to focus. What now? Liam exhaled, running a hand through his hair. We go to my place. It's safer than yours. They probably already know where you live. Emma's stomach churned. The thought of those men lurking near her home, waiting, made her skin crawl. She nodded. Let's go. Liam glanced at Rex, who still hadn't taken his eyes off the road. He's good. Real good, Liam muttered. Emma gave a weak smile, gripping Rex's harness. The best. Without another word, they climbed into Liam's truck. Rex jumped in beside Emma, still alert, still watching. Liam pulled onto the highway, his eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every few seconds, checking, watching, ready. The city lights blurred past, but Emma barely saw them. Her mind replayed everything. The attack, The leader's voice, the cold promise in his tone. This isn't over. She shivered. Rex whined softly, pressing against her. Emma ran a hand through his fur, grounding herself in his presence. Liam didn't speak until they reached his house, a secluded place on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by trees and silence. He pulled into the driveway, cutting the engine. Inside, he said. Emma didn't hesitate. She pushed open the door, Rex jumping out beside her. Liam locked the truck and ushered them into the house. Bolting the door behind him, he flipped on the lights, revealing a simple but heavily secured home. Metal-reinforced doors, security cameras, a gun safe in the corner. Emma exhaled. You always were paranoid. Liam smirked. Saved my ass more than once. Rex trotted inside, sniffing the air before settling near the door, guarding it. Liam went straight to his desk, opening his laptop. I need to find out who we're dealing with. Emma sat on the couch, her body aching from the tension. You think the cops will help? Liam snorted. They'll take a report, sure, but they won't put manpower on it unless there's a body. Emma grimaced. Liam typed rapidly. I still have contacts. I'll run the plate on their car. Maybe it'll tell us something. Emma leaned back, exhaustion creeping in. She should sleep. She should rest. But she couldn't. Not with him out there. Not with Rex still on high alert. Minutes passed in silence. Then Liam cursed. Emma sat up. What? Liam turned the screen toward her. It was a police database. The black sedan's plate was flagged under an ongoing investigation. Emma's heart skipped a beat. They're part of a ring, Liam muttered. A high-profile crime syndicate. Robbery, extortion, even trafficking. They don't just steal, they make people disappear. Emma felt cold. Liam looked at her, serious. You weren't just in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were scouting you. Emma's breath caught. Scouting me for what? Liam didn't answer immediately. He turned back to the screen, scrolling through reports. Then he stopped. His face darkened. Emma leaned over. A name stood out, Marcus Calloway. Emma frowned. Who's that? Liam's voice was grim. The man who spoke to you. The one in charge. Emma's stomach twisted. You know him? Liam nodded. He's ex-military, dishonorably discharged. Turned to crime. Ruthless. He doesn't just rob people. He takes them. Emma felt sick. Liam continued. And guess what? He has a special hatred for K-9 units. Lost a deal years ago because a police dog caught him. Emma looked at Rex, her heart breaking. That's why he was so focused on him. Liam nodded. He wants revenge. He met her eyes. And now he wants to make an example out of you. Emma's breath hitched. Before she could respond, a loud crash from outside. Rex sprang to his feet, snarling. Liam moved instantly, grabbing his gun. He peered through the window, then cursed. Emma's chest tightened. What? Liam's voice was low and lethal. They found us. Headlights flooded the driveway. Emma's pulse skyrocketed. She grabbed Rex's harness. We can't fight them alone. Liam nodded. Then let's not. He grabbed his phone and dialed. This is Walker. I need backup now. He hung up and turned to Emma. We hold out until they get here. A car door slammed outside. A voice called out, Marcus Calloway. Come on out, sweetheart. Let's finish this. Rex growled, deep and threatening. Emma's fear turned to fire. She looked at Liam. I'm not running. Liam smirked. Good. He cocked his gun. Let's end this. The night was no longer silent. The low rumble of engines, the crunch of boots on gravel, the tension in the air so thick, Emma could barely breathe. Marcus Calloway stood outside, waiting. Rex's growl rumbled through the room, deep and steady. His body was rigid, ears forward, eyes locked on the door. He wasn't just ready to fight. He was anticipating it. Liam moved fast. He turned off the house lights, plunging them into darkness, then motioned for Emma to stay low. Backup's coming, but we have to hold them off. Emma crouched behind the couch, adrenaline pumping through her veins. How many? Liam peered to the blinds, gripping his gun. 4, maybe 5, armed. Emma's throat tightened. Outnumbered, outgunned, Marcus's voice rang out again. Emma, let's not make this messy. Just you and the mutt. Come outside and I promise we'll go easy. Liam let out a humorless laugh. Liar. Emma clenched her fists. She wasn't going anywhere. Marcus sighed dramatically. Fine. Have it your way. A single gunshot blasted through the night. Glass shattered. Rex barked sharply, pushing Emma to ground as the bullet whizzed past. Then chaos. A second gunshot. This time, Liam fired back. A grunt sounded outside, followed by frantic shouts. They're shooting! One of the men yelled. Liam grabbed Emma's arm, his voice sharp. We need to move now. More gunfire. They darted toward the back of the house, Rex at their heels, never leaving Emma's side. Liam yanked open a closet, pulling out an AR-15. He tossed Emma a spare handgun. You remember how to use it? Emma's grip tightened around the cold metal, like riding a bike. Liam nodded. We make our stand here. Rex whined softly, sensing the storm before it hit. Then a loud crash. They were coming in. Liam aimed at the door. Get ready. The first man kicked through the entrance, gun raised. But Rex moved first. The German shepherd launched, a blur of teeth and muscle. He slammed into the intruder, knocking him backward. The gun clattered to the floor. The man screamed as Rex's jaws clamped onto his arm, shaking him violently. Jesus, get him off. Liam fired. The second man collapsed instantly. Emma's hands were shaking, but she aimed at the next figure stepping in. She pulled the trigger. Bang! He dropped. The man pinned under Rex flailed wildly, but there was no escaping. The shepherd's bite was like a vice. Call him off, the man pleaded. Emma met his gaze, her voice cold. You should have left us alone. Marcus's voice roared from outside. Fall back. Liam cursed. They're running. Footsteps thundered away. Emma's chest heaved as she stood over the bleeding man, Rex still snarling, teeth deep in his arm. Liam lowered his gun, listening to the fading sound of retreating vehicles. Cowards. Emma's entire body trembled. They'd won. The sound of sirens finally broke the night's grip. Police backup. Too late, as always. Liam exhaled, rubbing his temple. Damn, that was messy. Emma sank onto the floor, pulling Rex close. His tail wagged slightly, his tongue flicking over her cheek. He was fine. She was fine. We did it, she whispered, burying her face into his fur. Liam let out a chuckle. Correction. Rex did it. She laughed breathlessly. A police officer stepped inside, gun still raised. Hands up now. Liam rolled his eyes, raising his hands lazily. You're late. Emma exhaled. It was finally over. Or was it? As the police cuffed the injured man, Emma locked eyes with him. His lip curled into a twisted grin. Calloway doesn't forget. Chills ran down her spine. Rex growled again. She gripped his fur, her pulse steady. She wasn't afraid anymore. Let them try. She had Rex, and she wasn't going down without a fight.